Those are the circled chords. Those were the commonly used chords to harmonize. All right, so those are the types we're going to use for triads. We're also going to find that is true for seventh chords. He's going to show us what the common seventh chords are in minor. He's going to use that same scale. Okay? C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B natural, then C. All right, so he's going up the C harmonic scale, or C harmonic minor scale, and stacking up seventh chords on each scale degree. As I'm sure I made a big deal about in class, the two oddballs are the 5/7 and the fully diminished seventh, which should both, well, this one should have a top and a bottom on it, as you know. All right, but the oddball chords in this minor scale are that 5/7 chord and the fully diminished seventh chord, both of which you have to do something to make them turn out right. So I'm going to put a little arrow here, a little arrow here, reminding you that these are chords that you have to, let's say, doctor up in order for them to come out right. We didn't doctor anything up in major. We stacked up the seventh chords, and these were the types we got. They were invariable. They were always the same. Well, in minor, when we got to the fifth scale degree, all right, if we stacked up a chord on the fifth scale degree in C minor, C, E flat, G, B flat, that was the type we got. All right? Well, that wasn't the common type. I'm sorry. That's not the chord on the fifth scale degree. Here we go. G flat, B, D flat, F, the minor seventh chord. That was not the common type. This was the common type, the major minor seventh chord. So it had a B natural in it instead of a B flat. This is the chord you will get if you misspell the 5 chord. You'll get a minor 5/7. Well, that was not one of the common types. They got a major 5/7 by including a leading tone. So C minor's leading tone is B natural. And what I've encouraged my students to do is make a little bubble here off to the left. And you just simply put leading tone of the key. The leading tone, I can't do this upside down, here we go. The leading tone of C minor is B natural. Okay, that's a reminder for you in spelling this chord and this chord. Both of these chords need to have that leading tone included. Now, there are other chords that have B flats in them that we're not going to do anything about. For instance, the 3 major 7's got a B flat in it. We're not going to change that to B natural. The 1/7 has a B flat in it. We're not going to do anything to that. But it was the 5 chord and the 7th chord that were considered dominant chords that led you back to the tonic. And that's important because the leading aspect of that 5 chord is accomplished through this leading tone. B natural is the leading tone. And the fully diminished 7th chord is also considered to have a dominant quality because it's got a leading tone in it, a B natural. You know that because in minor modes, the leading tone's a half step below the key. So you have C, then B natural is your leading tone. So in order to spell this 7th chord right, it must, or this 5/7 chord, it must have a raised leading tone. In order to spell the 7 diminished chord right, it must have a raised leading tone. Now that sounds like a handful of stuff to remember, but this was just the common chord they used on the 5th scale degree. All right, in order to get back to C minor, we had to have a leading tone in there, which brought us back to C minor. Without that, there's the minor 5/7. That doesn't propel you back to tonic like that chord does. Okay? So it made sense that they used chords with leading tones in them for the 5th scale degree and the 7th scale degree. All right, so I put arrows over those, and over the top of them I put leading tone. All right, so both of these chords are sticky wickets in the minor mode. So whenever you have a problem to solve in minor, you need to make sure, if it's on the 5th scale degree or the 7th scale degree, that that chord has a leading tone in it. So turn the page to page 64. The first problem that jumps out in my mind is problem 5 here at the top. I'm going to circle it. Okay? Now, as you can see, we're in a minor mode right here. I believe it's F minor. Look it upside down. F minor. And he's asking for the common 7th chord that was that came about on the 7th scale degree. All right, so we know these are the kind of problems that they say don't use the key. I'm going to go ahead and write the key in, and then we can erase it later. Don't use the key as sort of a erroneous statement, because of course you're going to use the key. F minor has 4 flats, so solve your chord over here, and then if it makes you feel better, erase the 4 flats. And well, you have to erase the 4 flats and plug in the chord over here. So the chord on the 7th scale degree of F minor includes that leading tone. But let's assume you forget that. All right, we'll stack it up on the 7th scale degree in F minor. So we'll go E flat, G, B flat, D flat. All right. Was that the chord they used to get you back to? No. I'm sorry, to F minor? No. So it has to include a raised leading tone. So instead of E flat as our bass note here, we need to make sure that we have a leading tone in there. So E flat's not the leading tone. E natural is the leading tone of F minor. All right, so I'm going to raise that E flat and make it an E natural. So we now have E natural, G, B flat. I'll put the accidentals in now, and D flat. I don't know if you can see those or not. E natural, G, B flat, and D flat. So that was the fully diminished 7th chord. So notice the difference? We get a major minor 7th chord without the leading tone. That wasn't the chord they used on the 7th scale degree. They used the one with the leading tone in it to get you back to tonic. So the Roman numeral would then be 7, fully diminished 7. All right, and we know that because we tested out the sound at the piano. E natural, G, B flat, D flat. So remember earlier I told you some of my students took, when they have 7 chords or 5 chords in minor, they would draw this little bubble off to the side and say, okay, in F minor, my leading tone is E natural. So I drew myself a little bubble there just to remind me in the minor mode, my leading tone for 5 chords and 7 chords is E natural for F minor. So I'll definitely put a minor problem on the quiz like this, either on the 7th scale degree or on the 5th scale degree, to see if you remember that there must be a raised leading tone in the spelling of that chord, or you won't get this quality. All right, so let's review another one. As I look at this set of problems up here on the top of page 64, see if there's any other tricky ones in here. I don't see any 5 chords, which they went really easy on you on that one. Maybe we should just do one. Let me get a piece of staff paper out of the back of the workbook, and we'll just do one as part of the review. Because I tell you, I love to use these kind of problems. So let's spell the 5 chord. You can do this at home if you wish. Or let's just say the chord on the 5th scale degree of A minor. We'll just pick an easy key. So it would look something like this. Where's my little work here? Okay, yeah. So show me the chord on the 5th scale degree in A minor. Well, remember, the wise person says, oh, okay, the leading tone of A minor is a half step lower. So I'm going to make myself a little reminder here. Leading tone is G sharp, not G natural, because that would be a whole step lower. So the leading tone of A minor is G sharp, and I'm going to need to include that in 5 chords and 7 chords. Okay, Dr. Brown's asking for a 5 chord in A minor. If I do nothing, I get this. Well, was the minor triad the one they used on the 5th scale degree? No. That's the one they used. So if I ask you to spell a triad, it would be E, and then G sharp, and then B. Okay? So you say, well, wait a minute, G sharp's not in the key of A minor. How did you come up with that? Well, it kind of is. Because, remember, they made 5 chords major. All right, so this would be, if we were drawing a Roman numeral to represent this chord, this would be the common type. This was the one that was circled at the bottom of that one page in chapter 4 where he taught you about the common types, right? So the major 5 chord was the common type on the 5th scale degree. And the only way to spell it right was to include a raised leading tone, which is G sharp. And I think you would all know by now, in order to play the harmonic minor scale in A minor, we do go into sharps, even though A minor's relative major has no sharps or flats. It's C major. But we do need a G sharp on the 7th scale degree to make a harmonic minor scale. So the 5 chord is spelled E, G sharp, B. Let's do a 7th chord on the 5th scale degree of another minor key, just to sort of make things fun. So what would the 7th, what would the 7th chord look like? Let me see if I can get my words right here. What would the 7th chord look like on the 5th scale degree of G minor? Okay, what would a 7th chord look like on the 5th scale degree of G minor? I will start down here with G minor. Make yourself a little reminder and say, okay, wait a minute. G minor's leading tone would be F sharp, even though G minor has 2 flats. Leading tone is a half step lower. So in G minor, we play F sharp on the 7th scale degree in order to get that harmonic minor. 4, 5, 6, 7 is G sharp, or F sharp, then G. So I must include a leading tone in all 5 chords and 7 chords in order for them to be the common type. So Dr. Brown is asking for the 5-7 chord now in G minor. How would I spell that? All right. Go up to the 5th scale degree. If I do nothing, I get this chord. I get a minor 7th chord. Well, that wasn't the type they commonly used. They used major minor 7th because that brought you back to G minor again. You can't get there without that F sharp. So instead of D, F, A, C, I have to include that leading tone and make it an F sharp. So I stack up those notes on the 5th scale degree. D, F sharp, A, and C. And remember, these problems don't use a key signature and stuff like that. And I'm just reminding you as a class, put the signature all the way over here on the left so you remember what key you're working with. Apply those flats where they can be applied. And of course, we don't have a B flat or an E flat in this chord. And then the last thing you do is erase the signature. Okay, so this problem was kind of complex because it was on the fifth